Raised in Boone County, Moore called the outskirts of Columbia his home, where he resided with his mother and grandmother. However, his livelihood led him to the role of a blacksmith's assistant at several car shops along the Wabash Railroad in Moberly. Despite his seemingly friendly demeanor, Moore possessed an unusual fascination with the macabre. He frequently frequented various morgues in St. Louis, driven by a morbid curiosity to view the deceased. Additionally, he amassed a collection of newspaper clippings documenting notorious criminal cases, including that of Dr. Holly Harvey Crippen. Moore maintained correspondence with numerous women via letters, establishing connections through the written word. In May 1910, his life took a significant turn when he found himself apprehended in Wichita, Kansas, on charges of forgery. Following a conviction, he was sentenced to a 1-year term of imprisonment at the Hutchinson Reformatory. Moore eventually regained his freedom, securing parole in May of 1911. After his release, Moore initiated a correspondence with a 16-year-old girl from Columbia named Queenie Nichols, eventually confessing his affection for her. However, Nichols rejected his advances due to his lack of a stable residence. In response, he composed a letter to her in which he claimed that soon his mother's home would belong to him, along with all the money therein. A day before the tragic events unfolded, Moore journeyed to Columbia via train and registered at the Central Hotel using the alias L. Smith. On the fateful night of December 17, 1912, he surreptitiously entered the house, wielding a weathered axe with a broken handle, typically used for handling coal. Approaching quietly, he found his 63-year-old mother, Georgia, seated in a chair and applying ointment to soothe her joints. He mercilessly struck her repeatedly on the neck and head, resulting in her tragic demise. After dispatching his mother, Henry proceeded to the bedroom, where his 82-year-old grandmother, Mary Wilson, lay sleeping. Seizing the element of surprise, he delivered fatal blows to her neck and head before she could offer any resistance. Subsequently, Henry left the house, discarding the bloodied axe in a nearby ditch. Returning to his hotel room, he hurriedly attempted to cleanse himself of the evidence, but traces of blood remained on the bedsheets, his attire, and his arms. The following day, feigning innocence, he pretended to have just arrived and purportedly discovered the lifeless bodies, promptly alerting the neighbors. Law enforcement arrived at the scene, yet upon investigating Henry's whereabouts, they swiftly apprehended him. Suspicion grew as blood was discovered on his clothing and bed linens, and he offered no plausible explanation. Moreover, authorities uncovered an insurance policy in Moore's possession, initially believed to be on his life, but ultimately payable to his mother. While incarcerated, Moore remained tight-lipped about the murders, but eagerly discussed his character, his passion for poetry, and his unwavering assertion of innocence. According to his account, he had recently arrived in town from Moberly to partake in Christmas festivities and had merely stumbled upon the gruesome crime scene. He vehemently refuted all newspaper reports concerning his nocturnal visits to morgues, proudly asserting that no member of his family had ever been convicted of a crime and that this was his inaugural encounter with imprisonment. However, prosecuting attorney E.C. Anderson swiftly discredited Moore's explanations upon conducting a thorough investigation. Anderson pointed out the presence of witnesses and ample circumstantial evidence linking Moore to the murders. He also exposed the accused's false claims of being a student at the Kansas State Agricultural College, and suggested that Moore might have been struggling with a drug addiction. Despite Moore's vehement proclamations of innocence, a 4-day trial with 80 jurors culminated in his conviction for the double murder on March 14th. Nevertheless, the jury showed leniency by sparing him from execution, instead imposing a life imprisonment sentence. Moore's attorney attempted to appeal to the Supreme Court, but the request was ultimately denied. Subsequently, Governor Forrest Smith granted Moore parole in December of 1949, and in July of 1956, his sentence was commuted. At the age of 82, he was last documented as residing at a Salvation Army Center in St. Louis. After that point, no further information about his life is available. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing by clicking the red subscribe button below. And don't forget to ring that notification bell so you never miss an update. Your support means the world to us. Please give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.